Yikes. We just had the largest jobs number revision on record. The BLS just revised the year ending in March of 2025. So March of 2024 to March of 2025, revised the job number down by 911,000. What this means is that almost a million less jobs were added to the economy than previously thought. And this really speaks to two main things, and that's what I want to provide you with an update here in this video. So let's dive right into that. As always, my name is Derek. I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. So first, let's talk about the number. The number is massive. And remember, the previous year was revised downward by like over 800,000 jobs. So when you combine these two together, that's close to 2 million jobs less than previously thought was added. And the other thing that we have to talk about is that this was under Biden's economy. Now, I talk a lot about Trump's policies, Trump's tariff policies, and how I don't think that they're good for the economy. With that said, we have to be fair and we have to report the facts. And the fact of the matter is that this is close to 1 million jobs less were added under Biden's economy. So the two things that I want to speak of is, one, this means that Biden's economy was not as strong as previously thought, at least when it comes to the number. I do think that this is also validation for a lot of people who felt like, hey, the jobs market sucks, right? And yet the data was screaming and saying that, no, the market is fine, right? The economy is fine. So I think that this is validation for a lot of people who felt long before that the jobs market was not great. Secondly, what this speaks to is, of course, there is, for this to be the largest revision on record, so our record keeping should be getting better, not worse, as technology improves. Now, of course, the economy is growing, so there are more jobs. It's a larger population, so it is, by nature, harder to track. I mean, to have the largest revision on record, on top of the fact that previously it was the year before that was 800,000, I mean, that's not good. Okay, so now let's talk about what this means moving forward, right? Because we can't change the past, but we have to look into the future. And really, this means, one, the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates in September. That is all but guaranteed. I mean, there is no scenario, in my opinion, that they would not cut interest rates. This is also a little bit terrifying because inflation is not where we want it. Plus, we have tariffs looming. So the fears of stagflation are real. And I've said this before in a few videos. Stagflation is a real threat to the economy. I'm not saying we're going to get there. It's hard to get there, thankfully, because it's like the worst economic outcome that we can have. But we're the closest we've been to stagflation in a while. And when we cut interest rates, when inflation is not where we want it, plus we have a massive tariff inflation that is going to show up and is already showing up in the PPI, which is a precursor to the CPI, I mean, that is not a good combination to have. Now, when it comes to the job market, it means that unemployment is likely to accelerate quicker than before. It means that the Federal Reserve has not had a buffer. They've kept interest rates high for quite some time. They have not had a buffer. And third, it does, in a sense, validate Trump's, he's been asking them to cut interest rates for quite some time, and myself included. I've been a supporter of the Federal Reserve. I still am, because I believe that you can get lucky here and there without data, but if you want to be right the most amount of times, you need to follow data. You can be wrong with data, right? But if we want to be right the most amount of times, we have to follow data. And I do think that the Federal Reserve follows data. The problem is when you're fed bad data, you make bad decisions. But it does show, or it looks like, hey, Trump may have been right. We should have cut interest rates long ago. So we'll have to see how this continues, but the Federal Reserve is absolutely going to cut interest rates. It also kind of shows that the underlying problem is not Trump. Now, I will say this. I don't like Trump's economic policies. If you've watched this channel before, you know that. But and I think more so Trump's economic policies make worse an already bad situation. And I've talked about this in many videos. But right now, we are this most recent economic cycle, which started basically 2008 to now, after the Great Recession. This entire economic cycle is built on a house of cards. It is one, breeze or one small thing away from being knocked over. And that is because it is built on cheap money. We've had other economic cycles built on cheap money, but this economic cycle is built on cheap money. A lot of people's businesses are built on cheap money. So when you take away that cheap money, things start to fall apart. That's exactly what just happened. You're having bad jobs numbers when the interest rates weren't even that high. Yeah, they were high for recent history, but 4% on the FFR is not high when you look historically long term. But look how much we've struggled. That's because this cycle is built on cheap, fucking dirt cheap money. So when you remove that, things happen. What's more scary is that when an economic crisis happens, you need to have interest rates high enough to be able to have room to pull them down when a crisis happens. Because that is... The Federal Reserve is like one of the most powerful economic institutions on the planet, yet they have like one or two tools to support this whole thing. That's lowering and raising interest rates, and then quantitative easing, which is a relatively new thing. They've always bought and sold treasuries and securities, but to the amount that they do it, that is a relatively new thing. And in fact, it was first used in the U.S. economy in 2008 during that crisis. So quantitative easing and quantitative tightening, to the degree that they do it, is a relatively new thing. So they have two tools in their toolbox. Okay, so since they're already lowering interest rates, they're going to bring them down over the next year, probably to three, maybe less on the FFR. That's not a lot of room to lower it further when things get bad, if they get bad. So not to stress this enough, I can't stress this enough. The current economic cycle is built on a house of cards. It really is. And we'll have to see how this develops. But I don't want to drag this video out for no reason. So if this was informative, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out tremendously. It's difficult to grow here on YouTube, so every subscription matters. I love this stuff. I have a degree in finance. My expertise is in finance for like the last 10 years, and I love being able to share that with you guys. So if you want a no BS, just direct, blunt to the point type of coverage, you're in the right place. A lot of other people, you have all sorts of stuff on YouTube. You have people who do crazy edits, all kinds of shit. I'm just to the point. I'm going to give you my opinion, the information, bluntly, and not sugarcoat things, because there's nothing to sugarcoat right now. So if you like that, please consider subscribing. With that said, I will keep you up to date on this as best I can. The White House, of course, already blasted this and said, we need better reporting. Biden's numbers weren't as good, and those are all real things. They're all real things. So again, we'll have to see how this develops, and we'll have to see if the numbers are revised further. Because remember, the last few months were also revised downward. So we're not in a good spot here economically. Okay, I think we all already knew that at this point. But I will see you in the next video. Until then, try to have a great day, even though the economic news isn't that great. Take care.